I'm in Massachusetts, and initially I thought it was just the Senate that had passed the bill and that it was in front of the rest of the legislature for debate. But I found out per the meeting that I was at when they kind of stood down, but they were in the stages of really ramping up, that the bill was on the governor's desk just waiting for his signature for basically martial law powers that our local Department of Health department head would be able to declare martial law, and it's all for health. You know, if there's somebody in there that is refusing treatment and hasn't shown up to school, they may have to kick the doors in to go save us all. You know, well, we know what these laws and these powers that are being passed are really set up for, and I'm sure that will remain on his desk for future use when they're ready to move forward. I can confirm that they openly talk about martial law in these local meetings. The second side of that, though, is people shouldn't be afraid of this stuff. They should get mad and get active because the budget cuts we're all dealing with this economy. The local forces are a real paper tiger to begin with. If they ever came to round up guns and things, they'd be asking an awful lot. These folks are overstretched dealing with their legitimate duties and tasks. And also, the most local law enforcement will come over to our side. You go to an Oath Keepers meeting, and people are waking up in our law enforcement and the military. They know what's going on, and they're really on our side. They have to keep their job, keep their pension, keep their families going. Like all of us, we're running along as if everything's normal while the wheels are still on the wagon, but we know the bolts have been removed, and it's not going to go on like that forever. So take action, get active, and we can swing this thing around. Be positive, be not afraid, be outspoken. The large numbers, we're in the majority. Don't let them fool you into thinking you're out there by yourself. Do simple things. If you're not the type to stand up in a meeting and speak, 7 million people applied for background checks meaning they were applying to buy new guns since Obama took office. I don't know where everyone else is. Why isn't there 20 million new applications? They hear that as a vote in Washington, D.C., and people can just grow a garden and show that they're being independent, show that you're awake. And if you can't talk at a public meeting, you can talk to your friends and families. Get the Obama reception, get it out there. I did that for Easter get-togethers. I'm a converted former liberal Democrat. Big government's not being used to help each other and help our fellow citizens anymore.
No, it's not used to be empowering. It's used to enslave, and I couldn't agree with you more, and I love the fact that you're showing this at Easter dinner, because I always tell people, hey, the family's around. This is the perfect time to throw in a DVD that matters to try to wake up the ones that you care about the most. I thank you for the call, Kevin. And really, Mark, this guy is speaking to what we can do as individuals, and you've had a huge success on YouTube and your actions. What's in the future for Mark Dice?
Well, I just want to continue down the path, and I also want to encourage other people to do what I do, because I showed everybody how easy it was to call into these talk shows. And like I was talking about before the other break, when I first started doing this, and if you're first new to this kind of material, you start wondering, you might look up to Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck, and you start thinking, man, maybe the Illuminati and the Bilderberg Group, the Bohemian Grove are so secret that these guys just don't know about it. So that was a possibility. And I have now completely debunked that just by calling into them and addressing these issues, even in a moderate way, and showing that not only do they know about it, but they won't talk about it, they ridicule me, and even your more supposed independent hosts like Michael Savage. You can find a clip on YouTube of me calling him, asking him about the Bilderberg Group, and he doesn't want to talk about it, doesn't think it's important. And when I really got into calling into these shows years ago, I would be on hold to call in, and I would hear somebody else before me hammer Sean Hannity or Michael Savage about a similar issue. And by doing that, you're speaking to millions of people who can then just go and Google the Bilderberg Group, the Bohemian Grove, and that's what we need to do. We need to expose these people. I have some publicity campaigns that I'm trying to get out to, again, get into the mainstream press. People may know that I've had some fairly good success with what's called culture jamming, is using the mainstream media against itself to get out our message. And so I have some ideas that I've been trying to do to continue down that path. And I just want to commend everybody for speaking out. And I mean, I remember years ago when talking about 9/11 being an inside job was dangerous and scary. And so It's people like the listeners and people like Jason and Alex that have made a climate so that it's easier and safe for us to talk about it, and we just need to continue down that path.
Exactly. We have to take actions into our own hands. Don't wait for somebody else to burn a DVD and hand it out. Don't wait for somebody else to have a screening. Don't wait for somebody else to run for state senate. Don't wait for somebody else to become the city council member. You do it. You join Campaign for Liberty. You say, I don't like this document. You call DHS. The power's in your hands. It's the Alex Jones Show. We'll be back after this with Mark Dice. PrisonPlanet.tv, Infowars.com.
The good old folks at New Silver Solution. And the website is supernaturalsilver.com. Supernaturalsilver.com. This is something that kills bacteria, viruses, you name it, well documented. They've got it down to a super small nano-sized particle. Supernaturalsilver.com. Check them out at Infowars.com. Supernaturalsilver.com.
All right, back to Mark Dice. Mark, did you see that story, by the way, of this college student basically saving the lives of all of his friends at a birthday party?
I just heard about it on the show, and I think it's fantastic. And, even Jesus was a pro-Second Amendment. He says in the Bible to sell some of your clothes and buy a sword. And so I think that's awesome. I'm just wondering if they're going to bring any charges against him if he didn't. I didn't catch if he had a concealed permit, but
yeah, I'm not sure if that gun was even licensed. But the bottom line is we have a Second Amendment for a reason. It's not only for incidents like that, but it's against a tyrannical government, and that's why they're really trying to demonize gun owners in these latest DHS documents.
Look, I've heard statistics. I think it's for every one crime that's committed with a gun prevents 6 or 8 crimes. And the gun advocates will point out very sad instances of children finding guns, and that's not because of the gun. That's because of the irresponsible parents. And if we're going to put things into perspective, like the big panic of the swine flu, if you really look at it, every single day, over 1,000 people a day die from cigarettes. So, we were having a global panic just about a couple people coming down sick with this flu, which kills almost 40,000 people a year. When cigarettes kill over 1,000 people every day, and so I think that. I would urge everybody to go out and get a gun. If you can get a concealed carry permit, that's fantastic. Just learn the rules, learn how to handle a gun, go and take a gun safety course so that you become familiar with the laws and with how to handle one properly.
You brought up Michael Savage and his unwillingness to talk about the Bilderberg Group. What's your take on the fact that he's been banned from the UK along with 9 other public names, Fred Phelps being one of them, and then, actual Aryan white supremacist people. But then they also have 6 names that they're not listing. What is your take on this?
I think it's pretty sad because I don't think Michael Savage has advocated any sort of violence. I guess I have heard him make a couple references that we should turn the Middle East into a parking lot and nuke it, which is completely the wrong attitude and very irresponsible for him to say. But I don't think that he is necessarily urging violence, and it's very bizarre to have him added to this list of really terrorists and dangerous radicals. I think that maybe whoever it was that put him on that list just had a personal vendetta against him, possibly for maybe their sexual orientation or some other instance that Michael Savage has mentioned that really struck a personal chord with them. But I think it's dangerous. When I first heard about it, I thought his show was banned. I thought, they're just saying he's not going to be played on the airwaves. But then when I read the article, it said that he personally is not allowed to go there.
I don't know what's worse, though, because at first I thought that same thing. So they can still listen to him, but he can't go to the country. I almost think it's worse if they ban the radio show. But banning him personally.
Are they going to ban you because of a post that you put on your MySpace page or on your website?
Well, according to the Cyberbullying Act, if that gets through, this isn't even the Cybersecurity Act. Have you seen this Cyberbullying Act yet?
I've heard bits of it, and it's very scary.
Oh, my God. Well, let me just read you a section in the final moments here with Mark Dice. MarkDice.com is the website. Electronic communications provide anonymity to the perpetrator and the potential for widespread public distribution, potentially making them severely dangerous and cruel to youth. What about this Twitter where people actually believed that the swine flu had mutated into a zombie-like virus. That speaks to the ignorance of people, not to us being cruel to the youth, but they will use anything they can to try to restrict the internet, because that is where the alternative media and the patriot community, the pro-Constitution and Bill of Rights people are having the greatest effect, Mark.
Look, when I first heard Alex report the Mayak report, I actually thought that he was taken in by a hoax. I thought, there's no way that this could be true. I thought somebody printed the document, and sure enough, I should have given Alex and you guys more credit. You checked the sources. It's legitimate. They're really ramping up the propaganda against us, and we just need to keep it up in turn, getting out the word.
That's right. We need to return the force even greater than what they're pushing against us. Mark Dice, author of The Illuminati, Facts and Fiction. We'll be back.